Daf Yud Beis Amud Beis, 3 lines from the top. We were in the middle of this sugya, the discussion, Machlekes Rav Meir and Rav Yehuda, about where Eidim say different times of a day that an event occurred. Do we consider them to be contradicting themselves? Is that mevatel the Eidus? Or do we say, no, that's within a reasonable margin of error, and they're not deemed to be contradicting themselves, and the Eidus is accepted? So there's a machlekes. How much of a margin of error do we allow? And there's the machlekes Abaya and Rava, and the understanding of what the machlekes of Rav Meir and Rav Yehuda is. So now we're going to relate this discussion of this machlekes to the machlekes that we have in our Mishnah between Rav Meir and Rav Yehuda regarding the time of that one is no longer allowed to eat chametz on Erev Pesach. So Tanan, we learned in the Mishnah, Rav Meir, he says, we can eat chametz the entire 5th hour, on Erev Pesach the entire 5th hour. But you have to burn it at the beginning of the 6th hour. Minatayra, the chametz is also only after the end of the 6th hour. So we make our chaka, and people might make mistakes. So therefore we say you can eat, according to Rav Meir, the entire 5th hour, but you have to burn it at the beginning of the 6th hour. And Rav Yehuda says, no, we have to make more of our chaka. You can only eat it the 4th hour, and the 5th hour you can't eat it, but it's mutter b'hana, you don't have to burn it, you can feed it to your animals. So they both agree that you burn it at the beginning of the 6th hour, but the machlekes is, can you eat it during the 5th hour, or is the 5th hour also to eat as well? Not only the 6th hour, is the 5th hour also to eat. Now, Labaya, leave the Rav Meir, according to Abaya, who said, according to Rav Meir, that Lagabe Eidus, what is the margin of error that's allowable? So Labaya, leave the Rav Meir, Damra Eiram Taiviloi Klum, he says, really, people don't make a mistake at all. So if that's the case, Nechal Kulashis, then you should be allowed to eat the entire 6th hour. Then why do we say the 6th hour is also, you should be allowed to eat the entire 6th hour? Because people don't make a mistake, so they'll know that at the end of the 6th hour they can no longer eat. What was the reason that we answered the 6th hour? Taisa says it doesn't mean davka the entire 6th hour, because then by already he would be over on the having the on tashbisu, he would be over if you didn't have it burnt before the end of the 6th hour. So it must mean a little bit before the end of the 6th hour, so that he can burn it still in the 6th hour, and it will not be past the 6th hour, because if he ate it, if it meant literally eating an entire 6th hour, that means he wouldn't be able to burn it until after the end of the 6th hour, and it will be past the time he has to have it burned prior to the Zman Isser. That's Taisa Shita, but Rabbeinu Dovid says no. He says, the Torah says, that you have to remove the chametz after the end of the 6th hour. After the end of the 6th hour, that's when you have to remove the chametz. It doesn't have to be removed prior to the end of the 6th hour. It means at the end of the 6th hour, that's when you have to burn the chametz. So therefore, it could mean literally that you can eat it the entire 6th hour, and immediately thereafter burn the chametz. Al kol panim, why do we after the 6th hour? And why do we say that you cannot eat it during that 6th hour? If people don't make a mistake, why did the Meir say that by chametz you can't eat it during that 6th hour? And even according to the Lashon Rabbi said it's tayam mashu a little bit, but still you should eat it until the end of the 6th hour and allow that margin of error, that little bit of a margin of error. But why aser at the entire 6th hour? Now that's in Rav Meir. According to Rav Yehuda, who explained Rav Yehuda, that according to one version that he says, Rav Yehuda says a person would make a mistake in half an hour. So still, then why is the entire 6th hour, why is it aser? Why do we say that it's aser for the entire 6th hour? It should be aser in the middle of the 6th hour, because he only makes a mistake in that little bit. So why do we say, according to Rav Yehuda, he says you can't eat the 6th hour, you can't even eat the 5th hour. Why should we say that? We should say that he should be able to eat until the halfway mark of the 6th hour, because a person only makes a mistake within a half hour. And even according to the law that says a person would make mistake even as much as an hour and a little bit, and a mashu, still, nevertheless, nechal atzev chomesh. He should still be able to eat until the end of the 5th hour. But he answers the entire 5th hour and the 6th hour. Why is that so? Abai explains why is that so. What's the difference between edus and between bedikas chometz? He says edus mesurlas reason. That we say that people don't make mistakes, and it's only a minimal amount of time discrepancy. That's by edus. That who comes to be made? That's zrizim, conscientious people. So they're more medactic, they're more careful. But chometz l'kol masa. But in this chiyuv to remove the chometz and destroy the chometz, that's given to everybody, people even who aren't so diligent and who aren't so conscientious and precise, and they would make mistakes even more than just a little bit, or even up to an hour or whatever. They would make mistakes in larger periods of time, and therefore we have to be machmir and make a gzera in order that they don't come to eat the chometz lachar shas ha'isur. Now the Gemara goes through the same exercise according to Rava, who says that the margin of error by Adam is greater. That says that a person would make a mistake up into 2 hours less a mashu. So mitchilas chomesh loinecho. Then according to that, we should say that opposite. We should say that Romer should be machmer by chometz even more, and not say that he can't eat only on the 6th hour. He should not be able to eat even from the beginning of the 5th hour. It should be even more. Ramer says that you can eat the entire 5th hour, but if a person makes that kind of mistake, the 5th hour should be also. And some more answers. Chomesh, no. We don't have to be worried. We don't have to be geyser for more than that, because yes, a person would make such a mistake, and he would make a mistake for 2 hours less a mashu, but at that time of day, we're not concerned, because chomesh, chama b'misr. In the 5th hour, the sun is in the east, v'sheva chama b'marav. And after noon, in the 7th hour, it's in the west. So therefore, we're not that concerned, because it's clear in the 5th hour, it's clear from the position of the sun that this is the 5th hour and it's not the afternoon. Once the sun is no longer in the east, so therefore then it's clear that he can no longer eat. So therefore, Rameir says that a person can eat the entire 5th hour, because the entire 5th hour it's clear that this is before the Shas Yisr, because the sun is in the east. Therefore, here we're not concerned. So why don't you say in the 6th hour he should also be able to eat? The 6th hour the sun is not in the west. It's only after the 6th hour that it's in the west, so it shouldn't be clear to the person that it's still mutter, it's not the Shas Yisr. Omar Rabban Bar Hami says she is Shema B'Kanasakai. No, because in the 6th it's in the middle of the sky, so it's hard to determine. It could be slightly to the west, slightly to the east. It's not clear that at that point in the day that it's not yet after the noon, it's not yet in the west. So therefore it's not perfectly clear, and a person could make a mistake and between slightly after noon or before noon, and it could in fact be afternoon, so we are a geyser. The Rava, the Rabbi Hur, and Rava, according to Rabbi Hur, the Amar Adam Taya Shal Shois Chaser Mashu, that a person could make a mistake even 3 hours less than Mashu, Mitchilas Arba Loinechol. So why don't we ask for eating even from the beginning of the 4th hour? We should ask for it even so far back, because he might make a mistake. More answers again. Chamesh, Chama b'mizrach, v'sheva, Chama b'marav. No, we're not concerned, because again, from the position of the sky, it's clear that this is before the Shas HaYisr. In the 5th hour, the sun is in the east, and afternoon in the 7th hour, it's in the west. But Kol Shekain Arba, and certainly in the 4th hour, it's to the east, and therefore it's clear that this is still the Zman HaHeter. So why don't you say on the 5th hour he should also be able to eat? Why is he geyser on the 5th hour? It's also clear that the sun is in the east. Tergem Abayali with the Rava, he answers, Eidus Masur Lizriza. And Chametz Kol Moser, he answers because Eidus is given over to people who are Zrizim, who are diligent and conscientious. But over here, Chametz is L'Kol Moser, it's given over to everybody, and therefore we're afraid that the Hamoinam from the people on Hamoinam, even though the 5th hour you could determine from the position in the sky, but he's afraid that there will be people who are not that diligent and still will make a mistake. Rava Amar, so that's what Abai answered to the Rava, but Rava himself answered, Love Hainu time of the Rabbi Yehuda. That's not the reason. That's not the reason, because the position of the sky should be clear enough even for the Hamoyin to determine that it's before the Shas Yisr. Ella, Rabbi Yehuda L'Tamei, what's the reason? It's Rabbi Yehuda L'Tamei, Damar, Ein Bia Chometz El Sreif. He says the way to destroy the Chometz is by burning it. V'yav l'Rabbanan Shoachas L'Kot Ba'etzim. And the Rabbanan gave this hour, they said that this hour shouldn't be for eating. This hour should be for the collecting of the wood. So they said you can't eat it on the 5th hour. Collect the wood, and so that you'll burn it, and you'll burn the chametz, you burn it in the proper time. So therefore, if a person would be able to eat chametz in the 5th hour, he wouldn't remind himself about collecting the wood and burning the chametz. They assered it on the 5th hour so that he will go collect the wood during that hour, and therefore, and burn the chametz and burn it in the 6th hour. Omar Rabbi Yehuda says, when does he say that ein bir chametz al sreif, that it has to be burned? That shaloi b'shas biur. That's not at the time of the burning. It's before the time of the burning. Avol b'shas biura, but at the time of the biur, hashpasa b'chol dover. At the time of the biur, you don't have to burn it, mamish davka burn it. You can dispose of it in any which way. So, therefore, why did they have to give this extra hour and to collect it to make sure that you burn it? Why is that necessary? Just leave the chametz, and once you already are after the end of the 6th hour, then you don't have to burn it dafka. Why were they so intent on making sure that, and therefore answering that you can't eat the chametz on the 5th hour, so you collect the wood and burn the chametz? Why is that necessary? Why is that necessary to do it? Just leave it, and if you leave it, when you come to the beginning of the 7th hour, you don't have to burn it anymore, and it wasn't necessary to collect all that wood to begin with. The Ran asks on this pshat, which is Rashi's pshat, he asks, how could that be? How can we say that leave it, and then you come to the 7th hour, well, you're already over if you're into the Shas Yisr, if the chametz hasn't been destroyed? Now, like we said previously, Rabbeinu Dovid, according to Rabbeinu Dovid's pshat, it works out well, because according to Rabbeinu Dovid, he said that the chiyuv to destroy it is at the beginning of the 7th hour. That's when you have to destroy it. So it's not that it has to be destroyed before the 7th hour. At the 7th hour, it has to be destroyed. So you're not over. If it comes to that part, that if you at the beginning of the 7th hour immediately destroy it, remove it, and at that point, even according to Rabbi Yehuda, you don't have to dafke burn it, then you don't have to have the burning done. You shouldn't have to collect the wood. You can do hashbasas and hold over. So why was it necessary to answer it on the 5th hour, and so that you can collect the wood? Elamar Rav, he says a different pshat. And he says a different pshat. We're concerned about a cloudy day, and a cloudy day you can't see the position of the sun. So therefore, even though we say that the sun is in the east, and on a day that's not cloudy, it would be perfectly clear, is it before noon or afternoon? Is it the Shas Heter or the Shas Yisr? But if it's a cloudy day, you can't determine it. So that's why they made Har Choka and they answered it on the 5th hour. Frekti Gemara. Well, if that's the case, it's cloudy, you can't determine where the sun is. Well, it should be also even on the 4th hour, because even on the 4th hour, you don't know where the sun is, and therefore you'll make a mistake. And if we allow you to eat it on the 4th hour, Well, then if you're allowed to eat on the 4th hour, you'll continue eating, you'll eat it, and you perhaps won't know what's the 4th hour and what's the 7th hour. So it won't be clear to you, so we should answer it even earlier. No. The 4th hour, it's clear to a person what the 4th hour is. And he'll know when the 4th hour is, and he'll know that when the 4th hour has come and gone. Because Arbas Mansur Lakoli, that's a time when the general population eats their meals. So then he certainly will realize that this is the 4th hour, and this is the time that you can eat. Now he'll know when the 4th hour comes, and he'll know therefore that he can eat at this hour, and it's mutter to eat over here. Afterwards, it's not going to be so clear to him, so anytime after that, he won't necessarily know the time, and if it's a cloudy day, and he won't know if it's before noon or afternoon. So therefore, since it's the normal time for breakfast, for mealtime for most people, the 4th hour is a time that's clear to the person. Now the Gemara is going to discuss about the meal times that the different sectors have, the different segments of the population, and what their time for breakfast is. Tanu Rabbanan. The 1st hour of the day is when the Ludim, that's when they used to eat. So Rashi says they're a cannibalistic tribe, and they were gluttonous, they used to eat, and the voracious eaters, they used to eat right at the beginning of the day. Shniya is Machalistim. The second is the Machalistim, who are also gluttonous, they also are voracious eaters, but since their work is at night, they rob at night, they sleep in a little bit, so their time for the meal is the 2nd hour of the day. Shlish is Michael Yershim. The 3rd is Michael Yershim, people who are inherited a lot of money, they don't have to get up early to work, so they eat on the 3rd hour of the day because they're not preoccupied with their work at the early hours of the day. Revi'ah is Michael Poilim. The 4th is the Poilim, the laborers, so they're working from the beginning of the day, and the 4th hour is when they eat their meal. Chamish is Michael Talmid Chachamim. The 5th hour is Talmid Chachamim. That's when they eat, so they're learning during the beginning of the day, they eat at the 5th hour. Shish is Machal Kolam. The 6th hour is for the rest of the people. What do you mean for the general population? It's the 6th hour. Revi'ah Mansura Kol. We just learned that the 4th hour is the standard time for the general population for breakfast. You have to reverse it. Revi'ah is Machal Kolan. The 4th hour is Machal Kolan. Chamish is Machal Poil. The 5th hour is for the laborers. Shish is Machal Talmid Chachamim. And the 6th hour is the time for the Talmid Chachamim. The Hemik Shaila asks the Kasha, it says, well, if we're saying that the 4th hour is time for breakfast for the general population, so they know when the 4th hour is. Even on a cloudy day, they know when the 4th hour is. So it's clear that that time is a time of heter, and they can eat. They're allowed to eat over there. But afterwards, there's no clear demarcation, and if they're allowed to eat afterwards, they might get confused between before noon and afternoon. But what about Talmid Chachamim? But Talmid Chachamim don't eat at the 4th hour. That's not the time they eat breakfast. So for the Talmid Chachamim, it would seem that they don't have a clear time when they know that this is the Shas HaHeter. So for them, it should be Aser. Why isn't it Aser even on the 4th hour? Because for them, that's not the time of breakfast. And how do they have a clear siman that this is the 4th hour and it's Man Heter? They perhaps will get confused between the 4th hour or the 5th hour or afternoon. But perhaps we can answer is that even though they eat on the 6th hour and they don't eat on the 4th hour, meaning they don't have that siman, that biological clock that will tell them, oh, that now it's breakfast, but perhaps they will see that the general population, there is somewhat of a commotion, or it's a breakfast time. It's a time when people take a break. And it's a time when there is the activity of people eating breakfast, so that will be a siman for them that this is the 4th hour. So maybe they themselves also have this type of a siman. The Brisa it continues and says that if one eats from after that time, beyond that time, it's like he throws a stone into a bag. The way the Maggid Rum explains it is, if you have a flask of wine, if you have a bag of wine or a flask of wine, it has a certain level of a certain quantity of wine in it. If you put a stone into it, now the wine will be displaced, so it'll raise up, it'll come to a higher level. So it has an appearance that you have more wine. There's an appearance that there's now an increase in the amount of wine, but really what are you putting into it? A stone. You're putting into it a stone that has no value. And it appears like now you have more wine in the bag, but really you have nothing. Similarly, a person who eats after the time that he's supposed to, it's like he's putting a stone. He puts a stone into his stomach. It appears like he's full. It appears like he's now has more nourishment, but really it doesn't give him any real nourishment after that time. But the Gemara qualifies that that's only if he didn't eat anything else in the morning. He didn't eat until that time. But if he did eat prior, even though it wasn't a meal, but he did eat something, so there's a diyun in the Paiskim to what extent he has to eat. Is drinking enough, or he has to eat a certain amount? But in any event, if he's timed something in the morning, then if he eats a meal, a regular meal, even after the 6th hour, then we don't apply this, and there is benefit and nourishment from it. Nevertheless, Mishnah Berurah says, l'chadchila, he should not eat after the 6th hour. So the more weiter, Amar Ravashi machlekes be'eda, k'machlekes be'edas kach, machlekes be'chometz. The machlekes that we have by edus, it's similar to the machlekes that we have by chometz. So, just like Rav Yehuda says there's a greater margin of error by edus, he says there's a larger margin of error, larger margin of error by chometz. And Rav Meir says there's a smaller margin of error by edus, there's a shorter margin of error by chometz. So what says Pshita? Well, that's what we just explained. More answers, it's to teach you, it's to tell you that the way we reconciled it, and with the answers that we gave, that edus is mesora l'zrizim and chometz l'kol, or these the tirutzim that we gave to reconcile the two, there are valid tirutzim, and don't think that it's a machlekes tanoim between how to understand Rav Meir and Rav Yehuda by chometz and by edus. That the answers that we gave are valid edus. So therefore, we accept the Yom HaMe'unan, we accept this teretz of Yom HaMe'unan, we accept the teretz of that the difference between edim and chometz, that edus is l'zrizim and chometz is l'kol. Amar Rav Simi bar Ashi lo yishana ela b'shois. This is as far as a discrepancy in what hour of the day, the hours of the day. But if one witness says, one aide said that it happened before Hanetzach Chama, the other one said it happened afterwards. Eidus on Betela, the Eidus is batal, because they're clearly contradicting themselves, because people don't make a mistake. And whether it's before noon or afternoon, there's a clear siman, there's a clear sign with the position of the sun. It's either in the east or the west. Well, of course, that's the case. That's obvious. More answers, no. What I mean to say is, rather, what we mean to say is, if one says it happened before Netzach Chama, and the other one said it happened during the sunrise, Eidus and Betela, then the Eidus is still bottled. It's still clear enough, and people would not make mistake between before Hanetz, where the sun is in the east, and during Netz, where it's not in the east. So Hanami Pshita, the Gemara asks, this is also Pashat. It's clear from the position of the sun. The Gemara says, no, it's not Pashat. Because Mao, the same, you might think Tarvayo Hanamil Sakam, you might think that they're really testifying on the same time of day. Vaha, the Kamar, and the one who said, the one who said it occurred at sunrise, is Bigiluya Havakoi. He was, when he witnessed it, he was standing there, it was at the glow of the sun. And what he saw was perhaps just the sun's rays. So he's saying it's during the sunrise. Perhaps it was before sunrise. It was also before sun. He saw the rays of the sun, and he thought it was during the sunrise. It was during Hanetzachama. So perhaps we would say that they're not contradicting themselves, and we could reconcile what the two are saying. Kamash Milan, then we say, no, a person would not make that mistake, and he would not confuse the early rays of the sun to the actual sunrise, and therefore they are considered to be contradicting each other.